Exercise 1721, ability to pay liabilities. Big Ben Photoshop has asked you to determine whether the company's ability to pay current liabilities and total liabilities improved or deteriorated during 2016. To answer this question, you gather the following data. So here's our data. And then we're going to calculate these ratios. So the first one is we're going to compute the current ratios for 2016 and 2015. So before we can actually do the formulas, we need to know what the formulas are. So what is the formula for current ratio? It's total current assets divided by total current liabilities. So we need to calculate it for 2016 and then 2015. So 2016, we need to know which of these are current assets. Well, cash is a current asset. Short-term investments are a current asset. Net AR is a current asset. And inventory is a current asset. And then on the bottom, we need to add up total current liabilities. And they give us that in one number right here. Total current liabilities. So here is our solution. Total current assets divided by total current liabilities. We got 56,000 in cash, 31,000 in short-term investments. Net AR is 134,000, and then inventory 257,000, and then divided by 285,000 of current liabilities, you get 1.68 for 2016. And then for 2015, we have the 51,000 cash, 0 short-term investments, 136,000 net AR, and $297,000 of inventory on top, and then divided by $202,000 of current liabilities gives you a ratio of 2.4. So now remember, for the current ratio, higher is better because you want the number on top to be high, the number on the bottom to be low. So it looks like we got worse. We went from 2.4 to 1.68. Next, we're going to compute the cash ratios for 2016 and 2015. So what is the formula for the cash ratio? Remember, this is the formula that's going to use just basically cash and cash equivalents to see how well we can pay off our current liabilities. So it's cash and cash equivalents divided by total current liabilities. So our cash equivalents are $56,000 for 2016. And then we're going to divide that by total current liabilities of $285,000. That gives us a ratio of, before we round, it gives us 0.19649. But we are supposed to round it to 2 decimals. So that rounds to 0.2 or 0.20. For 2015, we need our cash, $51,000, divided by our total current liabilities of $202,000, and that gives us 0.25. Before we round, it gives us 0.2524, but we need to round to 2 decimals. And then if you like to see the numbers spread out, here's what we just did. B, cash and cash equivalents. We had no cash equivalents in either year, so we have 0. And divide by current liabilities. So again, we want this to be a high number, and again, it got worse. Now we're going to compute the acid test ratio for 2016 and 2015. So the acid test ratio takes cash plus short-term investments and net receivables and divides that by current liabilities. So what it's leaving out compared to the current ratio is the current ratio includes all current assets. So that would include inventory and prepaid assets like prepaid insurance. So that's not realistic to pay off our debts with our inventory and our prepaid insurance. So this formula leaves those out. So for 2016, our cash and short-term investments are $56,000 plus $31,000 plus net current receivables, $134,000, divide by our current liabilities of $285,000. So laid out in a nice orderly fashion, we get this 56 plus 31 plus 134 divided by 285 gives us 0.78. Before we round, it should give us something like 0.7754. Or if you want, you can put 0.78. Oops. Now let's do 2015. We need our cash plus our short-term investments of 0 plus our $136,000 in net receivables divided by $202,000 in total current liabilities, which gives us this right here. And before you round, it gives you 0.9257, but we have to round to 2 decimals, so that gives us 0.93. Okay, remember, this one we still want a high number on top and a low number on bottom, so the higher the result, the better. And again, it got worse, 0.93 to 0.78. Now we're going to compute the debt ratio for 2016 and 2015. So the debt ratio, the formula is total liabilities divided by total assets. So our total liabilities for 2016 are the current liabilities plus the long-term note payable. And then divide that by our total assets of $540,000. So it gives us this right here. 285 plus 46 divided by 540 gives us 0.61296, but you have to multiply by 100 to convert it to a percentage. We know they want a percentage because it has a percentage sign. And then, so that becomes 61.296, and then we have to round to 1 decimal. So that becomes 61.3%. And the previous year, we had total liabilities of $202,000 plus $58,000, and then divide that by total assets of $550,000. Gives us this, 202 plus 58 divided by 550 gives us 0.4727, and we have to multiply by 100 to convert that to a percentage, and that gives us 47.27, and that rounds to 47.3%. And then the last thing they want us to calculate is the debt to equity ratios. So debt to equity is just that, debt, total liabilities divided by equity. Total liabilities divided by total equity. So 2016, we need our total liabilities on top. So that's going to be current liabilities plus the long-term note payable. And then we need total equity. Now, if you look carefully, there is no total equity. So can we use the accounting equation to figure out our total equity? Remember, the accounting equation is assets $540,000 equals liabilities, $285 plus 46 plus equity. So another way to calculate equity is total assets minus total liabilities. So that's what we have here. 285 represents our current liabilities plus our long-term note payable of $46,000, and then that gives us $331,000 for total liabilities. So we're going to take our total assets of $540,000, subtract our total liabilities. That gives us equity. And when we do the math, we get 1.58373, but they want us to round that to 2 decimals. So I moved it over so you can see the whole thing now. So that gives us 1.58. And then for the next year, 2015, the number on top is $202,000 for total current liabilities plus the note payable. So that gives us $260,000 of total liabilities, and that's represented right here. And we take our total assets of $550, subtract our total liabilities, that gives us our total equity. When we do the math, we get 0.89655, but they want us to round to 2 decimals. So that rounds to 0.9 or 0.90. So now we need to evaluate the company's ability to pay its current liabilities and total liabilities. So for this company's industry, the average current ratio is 0.6. So what was ours? Our current ratio is 1.68. So ours is, and remember, we want high. Higher is better. So ours is astronomically better. And it's asking us about the current ratio and the acid test ratio. The acid test ratio for the industry is 0.46. Ours is 0.78. So ours is better. So ours are relatively high. So the company does have liquidity to pay its liabilities. Now let's look at debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity for the average industry is 2.23, and ours is 1.58. So ours is better. And then they're also asking about the debt ratio. The debt ratio for the industry is 69%. Ours is 61%. So ours are at, I would say ours are not, they're not extremely low, but they're not relatively high. I would say they're below average, but we can only, the closest answer is at average levels. So the company does not appear to be overloaded with debt.